and cultural divisions lead off CNN Student News this Thursday. I'm Carl Azus. We're glad you're watching. Over the past couple weeks, we've told you about protests going on in 3 world capitals: Kiev, Ukraine, Bangkok, Thailand, Caracas, Venezuela. These are divided nations. Governments and those who support them are facing off against protesters who want those governments changed. And what started as peaceful demonstrations in some cases have turned violent. Our look into these events begins in the Ukrainian capital, where dozens have died in recent fighting as other countries consider getting involved.
Capital cities are in chaos. Caracas,
Kiev.
On the streets of Bangkok.
The images are stunning. The atmosphere, it's deadly.
Looking at live pictures here of anti-government protests taking place in the Ukrainian capital, Kiev.
When the protesters came up to the parliamentary building, the whole government went around it, and this is when the clashes started.
I'm standing in Independence Square, which has been the center point of the opposition movement for some months now, and it is where the crowds have effectively been driven to the streets of Kiev.
It's a long line of fires. Those are fires set by whom? What exactly are we looking at?
It is a bed, as far as I can see, of burning fire and embers, and the purpose is clearly to form a defensive barrier and stop the police and security services getting through.
This is all about whether Ukraine is a European nation or part of Russia. That's what this is really all about.
The protests are also taking place on the streets of Thailand.
Protesters have been camped out in Bangkok since November, demanding the Prime Minister step down.
It was a street protest that was supposed to be peaceful, and then this happened. One of the police officers was killed. At least 3 civilians in the ensuing violence, Patricia, have also been killed. The protest leader, Suthep Thaugsuban, who leads this umbrella group of protesters, if you like, he said he was sorry about the violence, but he said that they will be back out in force. So they want to see her step down. She's refusing to go. She held an election. It was inconclusive. And now we're seeing that things are getting up to boiling point on the streets of Bangkok.
Demonstrations last week left 3 people dead.
4 people have already died in protest against the socialist government.
Thousands of anti-government protesters are still blocking the 6-lane freeway that leads through the heart of Caracas.
That move to blockade the freeway comes just hours after the Harvard-educated, Ohio State-educated Leopoldo Lopez turned himself in to the National Guard. The government has accused him of provoking what they call fascism and for stoking these protests in Caracas, which have now been going on a week. But of course, this is much bigger than a fight just against the government of Nicolas Maduro. This is Venezuela's right-wing opposition fighting against what they see as a 16-year-old experiment in socialism. They say enough is enough, and there's a change of government.
An update last night concerning Ukraine. President Viktor Yanukovych said that negotiations had begun aimed at stopping the bloodshed and stabilizing the situation in Ukraine, quote, for the sake of civil peace. The U.S. State Department said the Ukrainian government and opposition were moving toward a truce, though fires set in Kiev continued to burn throughout the night. The economies of the world are tied together. A boom or bust in one world capital can affect the economies of others. Easy concept. But predicting what the global economy will do is like predicting the future. One article I read yesterday said the global economy is weak. Another says it's on the up and up. One thing economists look at when making predictions is unemployment.
Japan's unemployment rate fell to 3.7% in December, a 6-year low, while the availability of jobs improved to a 6-year high. And while that is good news, the number of contract workers who are paid less than regular staff is still at a record high. And this week, Japan released GDP figures which pointed to a slowing economy due to weak exports and a concern over job security and wages. Now that fear seems to be holding back consumer spending before a rise in the national sales tax in April makes goods much more expensive. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has pressed large companies like Toyota to raise wages, it's not very clear that smaller companies will be able to follow suit.
The Middle East and North Africa region has the dubious honor of having the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. The situation is most acute in the countries of the Arab Spring. In North Africa, youth unemployment is 29%.
I think the Arab Spring has indeed, to a certain extent, locked out or slowed down the development of the private sector because it slowed down attracting investments coming into the region.
UK unemployment peaked at 8.4% in 2011, right at the height of the nation's double dip. Well, since then, it's tumbled rapidly towards 7%, a figure deemed significant by the Bank of England. But even that number is more than 2% higher than pre-recession levels. But the creation of new jobs did not keep pace with the number of people entering the labour market, meaning that the rate of unemployment actually rose from 7.1% to 7.2%.
The last two employment reports out of the U.S. were big disappointments. December showed only a gain of 75,000 jobs. January only showed a gain of 113,000 jobs. But analysts are cautioning not to read too much into these weak numbers because it's believed that the severe weather across the U.S. really kept people from job hunting and kept employers from hiring. And don't be surprised to see February's numbers impacted as well, as the eastern part of the country was pounded by snow and ice.
Time for the shout out. What U.S. city is known as the city of brotherly love? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it Nashville, Tennessee, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Flagstaff, Arizona, or Loveland, Ohio? You've got 3 seconds. Go. William Penn called Philadelphia the city of brotherly love in hopes that it would be a healthy and wholesome place. That's your answer, and that's your shout out.
People who know Kevin Gross say he has those Philadelphia ideals. He's an 18-year-old student at Bensalem High School. He recently signed a contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. It's a 2-day agreement, not 2-year, 2-day. But we have a feeling the thrill is going to last a lot longer for the NBA team, for Kevin, and for his growing number of fans.
From Bensalem High School, number 33, Kevin!
Meet the new breakout star of the Philadelphia 76ers, already a fan favorite and the center of the team huddle. His name is Kevin Gross. Before he was a free agent, the 18-year-old with Down syndrome was already a star player. For 4 years, Kevin was the manager of the Bensalem High School basketball team. With 2 minutes remaining in the final game of the season, Kevin's coach took him off the bench and put him in the game. He scored 4 3-pointers, knocking in this buzzer beater. After the play went viral, it was only a matter of time before the pros came calling. The Sixers signed Kevin to a ceremonial 2-day contract with the team.
Congratulations. Me too. I know you can shoot, but you can play defense too?
Yeah.
I say we give him a 3-day contract.
Kevin hit the court for team practice, sporting his new custom jersey, scoring extra points with fans and family.
The joy and love that he brings is just incredible.
We're going to saddle up and head out west for today's roll call. We'll start with the Hawks. They're perched at Volcano Vista High School in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Moving up to Spring Creek, Nevada. This is Spartans country at Spring Creek High School. And springing over to Rock Springs, it's in Wyoming. It's also where the Tigers are watching at Rock Springs High School. One of my favorite Winter Olympic events is the snowboard cross. The cameras all over the course give you great views of what's going on, but what does it look like for the riders? We now know thanks to British Olympian Zoe Gillings. She wore a helmet cam while she was training for the games, and now we can see what top competitors see as they ride cambered turns, jumps, drops, and eventually pass their competition. It's an event with plenty of snowboarders, but absolutely snowboredom. We're grateful that Gillings wore the camera so she could show us what it was like, though riding at that level would be an Olympic achievement. We've got to go right now, but we'll be right back tomorrow on CNN Student News.